All right, hello everyone. Rob here with Precodecamp.com, and in this video we're going to continue on and stretching the mind muscles with functions that return things. And in this challenge we have to write a function that returns an array of 6 random numbers from 1 to 6. And for practice we're going to be utilizing while loops. Now we already provide you with a random generator function with this, so feel free to copy this down word for word, and your random generator should work. To test that out, all you have to do is just do a console log, get random number, and throw in something like 1 through 6, save it, and then go ahead and run the code, and hopefully you get random numbers between 1 and 6. Okay. Now, if you are new to VS Code and you don't have yours set up exactly like mine, no worries. I do have a video series going over how to do the setup of this. The link will be in the description. So let's go ahead and stub out a few things that we're going to need for this. And like I said, we're going to need to write a function that returns an array. So let's do that real quick. So this one's going to be called function. And we're going to do getRandomSequence, and it's not going to take anything inside the parameters. And then we're going to do some curly braces, and again we're going to think about this logically here. I'm going to just create a variable. I'm going to call it sequence, and I'm going to set that to an empty array, and then like our prompt says, we need to return the array. So we're going to return sequence. Now we're going to run this, and for practice purposes, when we run this, we should see, or you'd think that we would want to see, just an empty array, and we don't see anything. And that's because in order to use a function, we need to call the function, right? And so if I went ahead and called it of getRandomSequence, left and right parentheses, and then I console log this, I should see an empty array. All right, so let me go ahead and save that and then run it. And you see right here, I do get an empty array. Okay, so now we know that our function's being called and that we are receiving an empty array. So that's part one. The next thing that we need to do is we need to see if we can somehow generate a random number and have it be stored in the sequence after we do that. So again, we're just bite-sized chunking away at this problem. Is I know I need to get a random number. How am I going to get a random number? Well, I already have a function for that, and that's up here. So let's do something like this. We'll say let random number equal get random number, and then we're going to do a 1, 6 because we know that we need to have this between 1 and 6. And then the question that we need to ask ourselves is, well, once we have this random number, how can we put it into the sequence array? How do you get information into an array? And so that is going to be utilizing the push, right? So let's use a push to get it in there. So in order to do that, I'm going to do sequence.push, and then I want to push in the random number. And so now if I save this and then I run this, I now get something inside my array, right? Let me clear this out and run it again. So there's a 5, there's a 4, right? But I'm only getting 1. I need to have more than that. I need to have 6, right? Well, how can I do that utilizing a while loop, right? So the way that while loops work is as long as the condition that we put inside the while loop happens to be true, it's going to continue to execute whatever's inside of it. So we do need to have these two things work, and we have to think to ourselves, based off of scope, what should we do? Should we include the sequence square brackets inside of our while loop, or does that need to exist outside, right, based off of scope? And the correct answer for this is it needs to live, line 15 needs to live outside of the while loop. So I'm going to start my while loop inside here. So I'm going to do while, And then inside the parentheses, this is where we want to put our conditional statement. So as long as sequence, okay, is how many, we have to think to ourselves here, how many of these random numbers do we need? Well, we need 6 of them. Do we have anything available to us in JavaScript that allows us to know the size of an array? And that's going to be the .length, okay? So while sequence.length is less than 6, so as long as our array length is less than 6, we should still stay in this loop here. So anything inside here is going to run until we get to a certain point. So go ahead and save that. Let me clear out this, and then let's run this. And there we go. Now we get a sequence of random numbers between 1 and 6 that are inside of here. Okay. Now, as a special follow-along challenge, I would say see if we can do the following, where we can make them unique. So let's make the numbers unique. So if it already exists inside of the sequence, then we need to get another one. We need to go through the random generation process again. So go ahead and pause the video, see if you can think of something on, hey, is there a way for me to check an array to see if it already has something in it? So I would recommend taking a look at the .includes in the MDN documentation or W3 schools to give your head a little bit of pre-knowledge before you try to tackle this and play the video. So go ahead and pause the video, take a look at that, and then come back. All right, so hopefully you saw something that made sense on those document pages. And we can make a simple if statement. So think about this logically, right? If we created a random number, all right, and it already exists, we need to check to see how does that already exist. Now, if it doesn't exist, we need to go ahead and add it to our collection. But if it already exists, let's not add it. Let's just stay in this while loop. So let's take a look at that. So we can write a simple if statement. If, okay, we'll do sequence.includes, and then we're going to say the random number that it generated. So this is going to return true or false. So say, for example, we already have a 1 inside of our sequence, and we got a brand new random number, and it came up with 1 again. Well, this is going to say, hey, did you find a 1 in there? If you did, we need to skip it. So in order for this to happen, you can either do this. You can either do triple equals false. Okay, that's fine for beginners. Or we can go ahead and put the not symbol in front of this, which is the exclamation mark. So as long as we did not find a match, and that's how we can read that, let's go ahead and push on that new random number. Otherwise, we're going to bypass this if statement altogether and go through the loop again, because guess what? We didn't add anything to our sequence length, right? We didn't add a new number. So let's go ahead and save this and run this. And when we do, if we take a look at our sequence of numbers inside that array, we should not see a repeated number. So that's what's really cool about this, because later on you may have a project that you may want to do and follow along with us to create lottery balls of the lottery ball selections to make sure that there's no repeating numbers inside that array, right? All right, cool. Well, hopefully you got something out of this tutorial. Make sure that you like and subscribe to our channel for more challenges to help with your learning JavaScript experience.